Dear friend, take a look at this picture. What you're looking at is the most dangerous waterway on Earth. It's where the military showdown between China and the United States is playing out, right now, in real time. China has one goal: take control of Taiwan. And it's getting closer to invading them every day. An invasion could happen any moment. The stakes couldn't be higher. Taiwan makes 66% of the semiconductors that power the world's computers, smartphones, televisions, even the brake sensors in your car. A Chinese attack on Taiwan would be like cutting off 66% of the world's oil supply. The stock market would crash as firms like Apple, IBM, and Google saw their sales cut by 2/3 or more. Prices for phones, cars, and computers would double or triple overnight. World governments would scramble to hold on to the semiconductors they have that are critical to the military. China could threaten to withhold these chip shipments for anyone who doesn't approve of their decision to invade Taiwan. In effect, China would control the world. It's not a question of if China invades Taiwan, it's a question of when China invades Taiwan. I expect China to make their move against Taiwan at some point this year. President Xi Jinping is consolidating his power. He's eliminated his enemies, and he's now pushing to get an unprecedented third 5-year term. His message is simple. He has said his goal is to restore China to its past glory. The clock is ticking. Those who aren't prepared could lose everything. The good news is that this is not yet a widely known fact, but forward-looking people are quietly starting to prepare. The US military is starting to prepare. Taiwan is starting to prepare. Even US companies are quietly starting to prepare. Everyone is starting to prepare except for Wall Street. They don't seem to recognize the danger yet. Or maybe they're too blinded by the money they make off their Chinese clients. By the time they realize what's happening, it will already be too late. But my job isn't to warn Wall Street, it's to warn you. Now's the time to act. I've identified 43 investments that I believe are in immediate danger. There's a very good chance you own at least one of them through a brokerage account, mutual fund, 401k, ETF, or pension plan. Now, in a moment, I'll share 5 of the most at risk of these investments with you. This way you can get out of them right now before it's too late. And you'll have time to position yourself for 3 investments that could soar 1,000% when this happens. Plus, a little known laser stock whose shares are poised to jump over 2,400%. Once I prove to you what's happening, you'll understand why companies and governments around the world are on red alert right now. But first, it's important for you to know who I am and why I've spent 4 weeks rushing 24/7 to get this to you. My name is Dylan Jovanet. I started my career on Wall Street in 1991, but I didn't start at an establishment firm like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. I grew up poor and went to City College. No Wall Street firm would hire me. I was too much of an outsider. Thankfully, I got my big break from another Wall Street outsider, Peter Jaquith. He's one of the bankers who became famous for saving New York City from bankruptcy in the 70s. He started a brokerage firm after leaving Lazard Frères & Company. It was an opportunity I would not take for granted. I may not have had the connections those other people had, but nobody was going to work harder than I did. I managed accounts, but I fell in love with researching stocks. Studying a stock was like reading a short history book about the town the company was in, the people that worked there, and the products they made. I loved it. I couldn't believe people got paid to do that work. Within 3 years, I earned a reputation for picking takeovers. Stocks like Paramount, which was bought out by Viacom 3 months after I recommended it for a 100% gain. Or the 70% gains we made when reinsurance was acquired 6 months after I recommended it. Or the 78% gains we booked when Chase Manhattan was acquired by Chemical Bank. Or the 83% gains we made when Michigan National Bank was acquired for $110 a share. Now remember, this is the early 90s, before the internet bull market of the 90s that really took off. And here I am, this 23-year-old kid picking takeover after takeover. By 96, my clients bankrolled me to start my own brokerage firm. And that's how, at just 24 years old, I became one of the youngest people in American history to launch a registered broker-dealer and market maker. Our office was at 100 Wall Street. I saw the 2008 crash coming a year before it happened. Because of what I accomplished at such a young age, Wall Street took notice. But it wasn't until I predicted the 2008-2009 financial crisis a year before it happened that the general public took notice. That's when I was invited onto television to share my opinion. My message was simple. What I think they're starting to do is move away from inflationary concerns to concerns about the growth of the economy. So I think you're starting to see the messages change and the Fed to take a stronger easing posture to lower rates. The stock market at 6,500 is like walking into your dealership where everything is on sale marked 90% off. Like the 624% returns we booked after buying American Express at 14 bucks a share. Or the 700% profits we booked with Starbucks, which we bought at 8, which I bought at 8, which then soared to a high of 56. Or the 459% returns we found buying shares of AutoNation between 10 and 11 bucks a share. Or the 235% gains that came from those who bought FactSet Research with us at 63. Or John Harlan, which was taken over 6 months after I recommended it, giving investors a 35% return. Or shares of K-Swiss, which gave clients a 65% gain. And remember Radio Shack? We brought investors 80% profits after the stock soared from 16 to 29. Or the 40% gains we earned when Hilton was taken over. Now, I'm grateful that I was able to help so many people profit from the 2008 crash. But the coming China-Taiwan conflict has me more concerned than ever before. When China attacks Taiwan, you could wake up one morning and find your portfolio down 50%. In a moment, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do when this happens. And I'm going to show you my red flag list. This is a list of 43 investments that are going to be hit the hardest. I'm going to email it to you as well. Stay tuned to the end. And finally, I'll show you what I think is the most absolutely important thing for you to do to keep yourself safe during this crisis and make a lot of money in the process. Now, this war is going to be different than other wars. War is young kids on a battlefield crying for their mothers. It's a brutal business. Anyone who takes it lightly is a darn fool. But as Americans, we've gotten used to fighting wars that only impact our soldiers and their families. Iraq and Afghanistan come to mind. All of those wars were tragic for the sacrifices of our young heroes. But this war will be different from the wars of the past 50 years. It's dangerous to us in 4 unique ways. The first danger is that Taiwan makes 66% of the world's semiconductors. Think about that, 66%. They're the tiny operating brains inside just about any modern device that we have in our pockets, like smartphones or hospital ventilators, fighter jets. So a Chinese attack on Taiwan would immediately stop 66% of the world's chips from leaving Taiwan. That would be like cutting off 66% of the global oil supply, maybe worse. The price of smartphones, iPads, computers, washers, dryers, televisions, anything you could think of, all those would skyrocket. Firms would be forced to lay off workers as they couldn't even make the products. Now, we got a small preview of how bad that would be back in 2020. The COVID pandemic sent chip demand soaring unexpectedly as we bought computers and electronics to work and play from home. The demand for chips got so bad, car companies had to literally stop making new cars. And the ones they did make shot up in price. But it gets even worse than that. The big danger is our tech industry would be destroyed. This is the second danger. Now, Taiwan makes 90% of the most advanced semiconductors on Earth. Their chips are at least between 5 and 10 years ahead of our chips from companies like Intel. This would be a disaster. Our entire infrastructure is built for the fastest chips on Earth. YouTube is able to serve videos because they use the fastest chips on Earth. Zoom is able to host meetings worldwide because they use the fastest chips on Earth. And you're able to use both applications, both of them, because you have the fastest chips on Earth in your smartphone. So what if firms like Apple or Google lose access to these semiconductors? What will they put in our iPhones? Will they use chips that are 5 to 10 years behind the current ones? Now imagine running the applications you use today on iPhone 5 years old. or 10 years old. Can you imagine how slow that would be? Most of your applications wouldn't even work anymore. But you think that's bad? Danger number 3, the bigger danger for us, is the national security risk. Because when you apply that problem to things like the F-35 fighter jet, we face serious trouble. Now, the F-35 uses the most advanced semiconductors on Earth. What if a fighter jet has a software update that requires these semiconductors? A Chinese attack on Taiwan would put our very national security at risk. As a matter of fact, no critical system or network you can think of, defense, power, transport, finance, communications, healthcare, none of them can function without semiconductors. The first move our military would have to make is to secure the 33% of semiconductor chips that were actually left, or we wouldn't be able to support our own weapon systems. It's a question of national security. Whatever remaining chips are left for commercial use would skyrocket in price. And finally, danger number 4, the stock market would crash. Just take a look around your house. How many of the items in your house pass through the South China Sea? Nearly 1/3 of all global maritime trade does. I mean, literally 1/3, maybe more, of everything in your house has gone through China. This includes smartphones, computers, furniture, car seats, clothing, hats, heaters, paint, shoes, rubber tires, washers, dryers, bicycles, microwaves, toasters, you name it. A Chinese attack on Taiwan would instantly freeze 1/3 of global trade. Firms that sell furniture, they'd have no furniture to sell. Firms that sell car seats would have no car seats to sell. And firms that sell shoes would have no shoes to sell. That would send the stock market crashing as global firms lost revenue, profits, and faced bankruptcy. Taken together, the facts are clear. A Chinese attack on Taiwan is a threat to your financial security. One morning, you could wake up and read that China attacked Taiwan overnight, literally while we were sleeping. 25 trillion in stock market value would be wiped out that day. Your IRA, 401k, mutual funds, 529 plans, they'd all be cut by 50%. Can you imagine waking up one morning and seeing your retirement cut in half? That is literally what is in front of us. But the bigger risk you face is if you're not prepared. The good news is I am here to help you do just that. And I've made a career of seeing around corners. Here's a recent example. In early 2020, the stock market crashed 40% because of the COVID pandemic. March was the worst of it, you remember. It was like a stampede out of stocks. One billionaire hedge fund manager, I'll never forget this, he went on CNBC and he was crying, "Hell is coming," as he literally wiped away tears. But I kept my cool. On March 12, 2020, I wrote an article titled, "4 Steps to Profit from This Market Panic." Right at the height of the market crash, I urged readers to buy stocks, saying, when we get to the other side of this crash, the market will likely have a snapback rally because prices and interest rates are so cheap. Because of my experience and the ability to see these opportunities before they appear, my readers kept their cool too. Because we kept our cool, we were able to pocket huge returns, like the 435% we gained with ChemoCentryx, the 159% gain with Magnolia Glass, the 275% gains we saw with Crystal Biotech, the 194% gains we locked in with Scotts Miracle-Gro, the 174% gains we locked in with Floor & Decor, the 115% gains we saw with DraftKings, the 142% gains we saw with AGIO Pharma. Now keep in mind, these aren't hypothetical examples. My readers had the opportunity to get into these trades and make a lot of money in a short amount of time. They literally were able to do that. That's why I've been so grateful to receive such wonderful testimonials. Now, after China attacks Taiwan, you'll have the opportunity to send me testimonials just like that. And that's why I'm talking to you today. In a moment, I'll show you how you can protect your financial security and put yourself in a position to make money. Stocks my research shows will be the best picks for the coming conflict. But before I reveal the exact details, you need to know how war like this impacts the stock market. To understand how the stock market would react to the outbreak of such a war, let's take a quick look through history. In 2002, the US stock market dropped 28.5% as we prepared for war with Iraq. But a Chinese invasion of Taiwan would be very different. Remember, Taiwan supplies 66% of the world's semiconductors, and 1/3 of all global trade passes through South China Sea. This is not some tin pot dictator in the Middle East. A better analogy would be what happened during World War I and World War II. On July 28, 1917, World War I broke out in Europe. The stock market closed for 3 days. When it reopened, it dropped 33% very quickly. And that was 3 years before the US even entered the war. Now, in September of 41, the country started to worry about entering the Second World War. Then came Pearl Harbor, the fall of Singapore, and the Bataan Death March. Within 6 months, the market was down 29%. But it could get even worse than that. Now, I believe there are 4 reasons this market could drop 50% or more. Starting with the national security implications of a Chinese attack on Taiwan. That's why I believe there are 4 reasons things could get worse here in a hurry. To begin with, China is a near-peer competitor. Again, this is not Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait. China doesn't drive 30-year-old Soviet tanks. They now have the biggest navy on Earth. That would make it very difficult for us to even get our aircraft carriers to Taiwan to help provide relief. And they've just spent the last 2 decades building anti-access, area denial missile shields all around Taiwan. Remember, they're literally 108 miles away. Secondly, a Chinese takeover of Taiwan would put US credibility on the line. Think about it like this. If our allies believe we can't defend them from China, we lose them. Think of our allies like flowers. They currently tilt towards the United States. But if China takes over Taiwan, they'll all tilt towards China. To understand how significant that would be, consider this. China could force all of her new allies to use her semiconductors, her software companies, her internet companies. That would destroy our companies in the United States. Think about it. They'd all be using China's version of Facebook, China's version of Google, et cetera, and they'd be forced to block our companies from doing business there. And frankly, a Chinese invasion of Taiwan could spiral into the worst case scenario, which is World War III. The Japanese Deputy Prime Minister recently said basically the very same thing. It could drag the United States, Japan, Australia, India, and South Korea into war as quickly as Europe slid into World War I. Wars are one of the greatest destroyers of capital, and there's no reason to think that this war would be any different. Now, here's what I recommend you doing immediately. Step 1, check this list. The first thing you must do is check your exposure to Taiwanese and Chinese stocks. Look into your 401k, IRA, and any other retirement accounts you have. If you have any mutual funds, see what they're invested in. Log into your brokerage accounts. I found 43 stocks that'll get crushed immediately. Now, what about Chinese stocks? These won't be spared either. If China can no longer expand and export their products, they're going to suffer big time. Now, I've spent the past 9 years studying the impact of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, and I've come up with a red flag list. Bottom line, there are 43 investments you simply must get rid of. Here is a partial list. Fidelity China Region Fund, Templeton Dragon Fund, iShares MSCI Taiwan ETF, Franklin FTSE Taiwan ETF, and of course, Taiwan Semiconductor. We don't have a ton of space to give you the full list. If you'd like a hard copy, I'll tell you what to do in just a moment. Now that brings us to step 2. Buy this instead. Many investors historically have turned to safe haven assets such as precious metals in times of economic and political turmoil. One way to gain exposure is by owning companies in the metals and mining industry, which are involved in the exploration, extraction, and sale of metals and other minerals. These materials are used in a whole bunch of applications like jewelry, technology, aviation, aerospace, and really basically everything we could think of. Now, I have found 3 very safe opportunities for you to sock your money away when this crisis hits. You should consider moving your money into at least one, if not all, of these safe havens right now. And over the next few years, as traditional stocks get crushed, these can offer a lot of protection. Now, I've put all these names into a special report for you titled China versus Taiwan, 3 steps you must take right now to prepare for war. Inside this report, you'll learn everything you need to know about this event. You'll have access to my full red flag list. You'll learn about the absolute best ways to protect your portfolio. Plus, you'll learn about 2 other ways to boost your wealth as this crisis hits. Remember when I told you that the stock market was going to get crushed when this happens? Well, there are a couple of small exceptions to this rule. Thanks to a rarely used law, instead of losing value when conflict breaks out, these investments grow no matter what happens on any battlefield. You'll find all of the details in my report, which you're going to get free of charge. Before I show you how to get your copy, let me tell you about the 3rd and final step you should take right now. Step 3, hunt for select opportunities. When war breaks out, smart money is going to start shifting to a few key asset classes, and you should too while it's still early. In short, this coming crisis is presenting you with a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make a significant amount of money from the financial markets. One is an American semiconductor firm that should benefit greatly from the government's push to bring back semiconductor manufacturing to the United States. Already, some of the smartest institutional investors on earth have been buying shares. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and others have invested tens of millions of dollars in this little-known company. In short, there's a great opportunity to make a fortune in companies that are positioned well when this happens. But this situation won't last long. We haven't had a crisis like this in decades. As the crisis hits, smart and dumb money alike will eventually pile into these stocks, sending their prices soaring. So you still have time, but the clock is ticking. Let me show you another step 3 opportunity you should consider taking advantage of as this crisis hits. And yet, as great as all these gains are, the best potential may be with defense contractors. Take laser missiles. The US Navy is now pushing to install lasers on all of their ships. These lasers are going to give these ships the ability to dazzle or blind enemy drones or become anti-missile defense systems. If laser weapons were just going onto one branch of the military, the opportunity would be massive. General Dynamics investors turned every $1,000 into $115,000 when the Navy started putting Tomahawk missiles on all their ships. But remember, this opportunity is at least 4 times bigger than that. It's not about developing a weapon for one branch of the military. We need lasers for all branches of the military. For our Navy ships in the South China Sea, our Army bases in the Middle East, they're at risk. Our Marine Corps bases in Japan are at risk. Allies like South Korea and Japan that have our THAAD missile defenses systems, they're at risk too. So we have no choice. We have to be able to defend ourselves. We have to begin buying weapons like this. That's why the US government has made weapons like lasers a top priority. They have already budgeted billions of dollars for these weapons. Now, the implications of this are mind-boggling. Missile defense systems like the Patriot, they'd become a thing of the past. Future generations would learn about Patriot missiles by reading about them in history books. It's a newer and faster way of fighting war, and we're just at the very beginning of this revolution. This is just the beginning of what looks like to be a very profitable ride for early investors. A person only gets one opportunity in life to be able to predict the future with such a high degree of certainty. We know the Pentagon is going to spend billions of dollars spending on weapons like this, and more importantly, we know who they're spending it with. It's just a matter of time before word gets out and Main Street catches on to what's really happening here. But by the time that happens, it'll be too late. In other words, you need to prepare for this before your neighbor does. If your neighbor tells you about it first, it's going to be too late for you. Now, so far, I've covered the 3 steps you need to take right away to plan for this crisis. Step 1, check my red flag list. Make sure you do not own any of the stocks and names on it. Step 2, get exposure to precious metal investments that'll flourish as war breaks out. In step 3, buy select defense contractors and American semiconductor stocks, because there will be opportunities to make 4, 5, even 10 times your money or more. Now, to give you the edge, I've put all of these details in the special report called China vs. Taiwan, 3 steps you must take to prepare for war. This report details everything we've discussed and gives you the exact moves you have to make to protect yourself and put yourself in a position to make money. I'm going to give it to you free at the end of this. During almost 30 years I've been doing this, I've consistently made a lot of money by being 2 steps ahead of the crowd. A few triple-digit winners include American Express, which jumped 660%, Chemocentrics, which rose 435%, FactSet Research, which gained 235%, AutoNation, which soared 420%, and Starbucks, which moved up 700%. But here's the thing, as remarkable as those gains were, they don't compare to what's in front of us right now. There are going to be a number of ways to profit in the coming years. But first, we must take steps to protect your financial security and legacy. This is the first one. Download my report, China vs. Taiwan, 3 steps you must take to prepare for war. The report is yours, absolutely free. I want you to have this report for free because there doesn't seem to be anyone else preparing you for this. You see, the world is entering a new cycle of war. China is trying to flip the international system just like Germany did in 1914. And this is the biggest story you're not being told. It's the very definition of urgent. And not one Wall Street firm is warning their clients about this. It's almost surreal. I feel the same way I did before the housing market crashed. I began warning folks on May 12, 2006, almost 2 years before the market crashed. My first target was Wachovia Bank. I warned everyone about it. The stock was selling at $55.82. And I wrote at the time, note to Wachovia shareholders, sell now. Within 2 years, Wachovia was selling for $5 a share, a loss of over 90%. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. On June 9th, 2006, I warned customers that the entire stock market was going to drop. At the time I wrote, the market has no place else to go but down. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. A year later, the Dow Jones Industrial Average began to drop. It crashed 45%. The S&P 500 dropped 47%, and the NASDAQ, of course, dropped more, dropping 54%. My point is, I have a proven history of being ahead of the crowd, and I haven't seen one credible source warning you about this. It's mind-boggling. It's like the Twilight Zone. That's why I had to tell you this story. In my almost 30 years in the markets, I've never seen such a financially dangerous time, and no one is talking about it. But what truly makes this opportunity so unique is the urgency behind it. This could literally happen any day. On July 8th, 2021, the chief of U.S. Pacific Intelligence warned. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this is coming. The only question is how best to prepare for it. That's exactly why I rushed to get you this urgent report, China vs. Taiwan, 3 steps you must take to prepare for war. There's just one place on earth you can get this report, and it's called Behind the Markets. I've put this new report together for members of our exclusive VIP service, Behind the Markets. We hunt elephants at Behind the Markets, not mice. The focus of this unique service is simple. We hunt for stocks at the tip of life-changing trends. Stocks that are so far ahead of their competitors, they can change a market. Stocks with lower share prices, small market capitalizations, and rapidly growing revenue. Stocks that could put 1,000% gains in your pocket in just months and change your life. Now, as soon as you become a member behind the markets, you become part of my inner circle, just like my family. And you'll get access to every single investment opportunity I discover each month. As a member of Behind the Markets, you'll receive our brand new report, China vs. Taiwan, 3 Steps You Must Take to Prepare for War. This blockbuster 40-page report will outline the exact 3 steps you need to take right away to plan for this crisis. Remember, step 1, you're going to get my full red flag list. This way you could immediately check your 401k, IRA, mutual funds, brokerage accounts, and other things to make sure you don't own any of the stocks most likely to get crushed when the bullets start flying. Step 2, it includes my top list of precious metal stocks, which tend to flourish whenever war breaks out. And step 3, it includes my top defense contractors and American semiconductor companies, because there will be opportunities to make 4, 5, even 10 times your money when this happens. Now, you can also expect 1 to 2 new recommendations from me personally every month. Each recommendation will include a 30-page report on the company, as well as easy-to-follow instructions for you to execute the trade. And since we mostly recommend common stocks, these trades will be easy enough for any beginner to do. You're also going to get sell alerts for the opportunity to bank maximum profits. All you need to do is wait to hear from me so you'll know exactly when it's time to sell and take profits. This way we can avoid writing a stock up only to write it all the way back down with no gains to show for it. That's why I won't recommend selling a position until the trend is officially over. You're going to have unlimited access to the Behind the Markets members website. That's because all Behind the Markets members gain access to an exclusive new website that can log you in at your convenience. There, you can access all past and present alerts, updates, and a few other goodies I discussed below. A lot of educational stuff we put there too. This is going to give you a 360-degree view of every open position, as well as a record of the trades we've already closed. You'll know to the minute how much money Behind the Markets is making for you. You're also going to have access to VIP concierge service, ready to help you 7 days a week. Look, customer service is so important to us. That's why we have a fully staffed team of professionals who are here solely to help you get the most out of this opportunity. And they're not located in some far-off country. They're located right here in South Carolina. So you're able to call them or email them any day of the week with any questions you may have about your membership. But most importantly, once you join Behind the Markets, you get the best friend in this business you can have. You get access to me. Like my own family and friends, from now on, you're going to know about big warnings like this first, before the rest of the world knows about them. By the time the general public finds out about it, it's going to be too late for them. You'll also know exactly what to buy and what to sell, and what to do when we wake up that morning and we found out China attacks Taiwan. You're going to know what to do just like my readers did after the market crashed in 2009. I want to protect you, your family, and your legacy from what's coming. Helping protect your financial security and achieve immense wealth, it's my mission. In short, you get access to a brain that has made millions of dollars for myself and for other people during the past 3 decades. This is why I've kept the cost of Behind the Markets at the lowest level possible. But I am a businessman, so I'm not going to make an offer that loses money making this offer for you. That's why I'm offering you this service for the same amount of money it costs me to advertise this to you. Just $199. And frankly, I know it's a steal at that price. China vs. Taiwan, 3 Steps You Must Take to Prepare for War alone is worth $997. I've put 10 years of research and reflection into this report, as well as weeks and weeks and weeks writing it for you. But more importantly, while we wait for these events to unfold, I'll give you opportunities to make money that you've never imagined before. I don't know about you, but I've been around long enough to know how rare that is. Now look, As I mentioned earlier, this is about feeding more than my wallet. It's about feeding my soul. And the best way for me to do that is to help as many people as I can. And I grew up on welfare and food stamps, so I never, ever, ever will forget the value of $1. So to make it as easy as possible for you to join, here's what I'm going to do today. We've lowered the price of Behind the Markets for the first 1,000 people who respond today to just $39. That comes out to 10 cents a day. That means I'm going to lose $161 on each and every $39 order. The plan is to get you so much out of Behind the Markets that you stay a loyal customer forever and buy other products. And finally, just to prove how confident I am, let me remove any last shred of doubt you might have about this investment. Try Behind the Markets free. Try us free for 30 days. Take the month to review the service. Profit from as many of the open positions as you can. If we don't meet or exceed your expectations, just call our customer service line and you're going to get a 100% full refund. No questions asked. Plus, you can keep the free report you get today. Join me while we prepare for this crisis. Sign up for Behind the Markets and let me share with you the magic that we do every month, just like I do with our friends and our family. I promise you to do my best to honor the name of the service by taking you behind the daily markets and showing you profit opportunities before the rest of the world finds out about them. Thank you so much for viewing this important presentation. I sincerely hope you take me up on this offer. I'm confident you're going to look back one day and think joining Behind the Markets was one of the best decisions you ever made. But there's something else I want to pass on to you today. Something that may prove to you as valuable as any profitable trade we make together. I want to give you some more important bonus reports. The first one is Hypersonic Missiles, the small defense contractor quietly revolutionizing warfare. It has a $297 value. And in this report, it'll detail how a small, tiny defense contractor is using hypersonic missiles to give the United States and our allies the edge against China. I'm going to give it to you for free at the end of this. Again, the hypersonic missile revolution is in its infancy. Most people have never even heard of it yet. You're going to learn the name of the company, its top company, its stock symbol, and why its new weapons are so revolutionary. Just this report alone gives you the chance to earn life-changing profits. But I'm going to throw in a second bonus report. Income Collapse. How to buck the trend and boost your monthly income with new investments. Now this report has a $179 value. The coronavirus obviously has hit the elderly especially hard, but retirees have been attacked by a financial virus for the past decade. The complete and total collapse of interest rates and income in this country. As you know, it's almost impossible to find bonds paying anything close to the kind of yields you prepared for your whole life. Government bonds just don't pay enough anymore to support a reasonable lifestyle. What's more, dividend stocks are getting hammered. So are REITs, and muni bonds pay next to nothing. The result of all this is that retirees have virtually had no place to go for income. And I don't have to tell you that. You already know this. That's why we wrote this report. It shows you exactly how you could begin increasing your monthly income using a secret system that most people don't know about to find safe alternative notes with target returns of 10 to 15% a year. And I'm going to tell you something. Most of your financial advisors don't even know about this. I also have another bonus report I want to give to you. The third one. We call it Herbert Royalties. How to collect entertainment royalties while you sleep. And this report has a value of $199. Now, collecting royalties while doing nothing has got to be one of the best ways to make money. It used to be that only the rich and famous were able to collect these royalties. People like Stephen King would write a great book and collect royalties on the book, or Michael Jackson, or Michael Jordan, or Bill Gates. But what might shock you, now there is a way for anybody to tap into a pool of growing royalty payments, wealth that piles up by itself, that ultimately could be worth more than the entire Beatles catalog, along with the commercial rights to Happy Birthday, the total value of the Rolling Stone catalog combined. And the best part, this brand new report is going to show you how to get your piece of this secret royalty bonanza, and you can get started in less than 5 minutes. So let me quickly recap what you can expect from Behind the Markets. First, you're going to get the free report, China versus Taiwan, 3 steps you have to take to prepare for war. You'll get this invaluable free bonus report right away as soon as you join. Even if you cancel, you can keep the report, and it even has a $997 value. You're going to get my best new recommendation every month. You're going to get a benefit of the best investment experience money can buy in 12 monthly issues of Behind the Markets, and it's going to be emailed directly to your inbox. Once you get the email, simply call your broker or place your trade online, and that has a value of $199. You're also going to get an extra 3 free bonus reports right away, again, as soon as you join. So even if you cancel, these reports are going to be yours to keep, and they have a $675 value. Don't forget, we also have a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee, because I want you to profit from our advice without fear and without hesitation. I'm backing up my claims with an unconditional guarantee. Try Behind the Markets risk-free. If you don't like the service in the first 30 days, for whatever reason, every dime you pay toward your membership will be returned to you. The reports, all of them, will be yours to keep. No questions asked. Now, the total value of all of this is $1,871, but you can get it all today for the low price of $39. And I believe you owe it to your family to act. That's because I know this conflict is going to destroy more wealth and create more millionaires than any war in my lifetime. And I want you to be among the few who have the opportunity to make the kind of money that can change the way you live your life. And it starts with the special report titled China versus Taiwan, 3 steps you must take to prepare for war. Those who act now could see their wealth protected for generations. Those who don't could suffer greatly. Remember the story of the 3 little pigs? The big bad wolf blew the first pig's house down because it was made of straw. He blew the second pig's house down because it was made of sticks. But he couldn't blow down the third pig's house because it was made of bricks. I'm going to help you build a portfolio that's as strong as bricks, but you need to act fast. Just click on the button below to get started. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is yours for the taking. I urge you to take advantage of it today, and I look forward to having you on board. The buck stops here.